We all crave certainty. We want to know how the world works, who we are, and where the road is taking us. And we've built stories about that in our minds. Maybe that's why change feels so scary. It questions the stories we've built about ourselves. The truth is, life on this planet is full of change. And one of our greatest freedoms is how we react to it. Hi, I'm Shanti, and I'm traveling through Europe with my dear husband Luke and our camper van Pebbles, trying out this Vanlife en YouTube thing for our 1-year sabbatical. Zo, nou, daar zijn we.
Ja.
Niet op de Noordkaap, maar bijna.
Heel dicht.
Maar het blijkt dat de maximale hoogte van de auto's die mee mogen op de ferry veel lager is dan onze camper is. Dus helaas.
2,5 meter. Ja, dat is Pebby niet.
Pebbles is te hoog.
Maar gelukkig hebben we
Blaber.
in overvloed.
We zijn onderweg
Naar de Noordkaap.
naar de Noordkaap. We zijn er bijna. Noordpool is daar.
Daar. Helemaal daar.
Het is het einde van de wereld, maar het is wel druk op het einde van de wereld.
Kijk daar. Allemaal opgepropt op het einde van de wereld.
We can now die in peace.
Yes. There is the North Cape. Dat is het. Hoe voelt het?
Nou, onwerkelijk dus.
Is het einde? Nou, dat is niet waar. Spitsbergen nog. Hard.
Het ziet er nu nog allemaal heel vredig uit, maar er is code geel afgegeven voor vanmiddag. Met onweer en regen. We rijden code geel tegemoet. I love writing, and I've had handwritten diaries for years. So, writing our travel thoughts and reflections now in the form of video scripts feels natural and even helpful to me. So, we're in Finland now, and the short Nordic summer is already over. Most people have returned from their vacations, and it's become more quiet on the road. Thought I'd make a cozy autumn chai while I chat with you about life. I've always felt a bit disconnected returning to my normal routine after vacations. I don't know if you ever felt this as well, but it's apparently known as the post-vacation blues. Didn't know the term existed, but yeah, I felt it many times.
En? Koud?
Maybe this is because of the contrast between the relaxation of the trip and daily responsibilities, but I'm actually quite okay with responsibilities and building relaxation in daily life, so I suspect it's somewhat deeper than that. More of an unresolved life dissatisfaction or a reverse culture shock, because you step away from your life and then come back to it and look at it from a distance, but only briefly, until you get immersed again and lose the wider perspective you'd gained. I know that a 1-year sabbatical is quite long, but still I can already feel the fear of getting immersed again. How not at all I'm looking forward to getting back. But I do not want this year of traveling to be escapist, by simply trying to avoid thinking about reality. We could spend this year merely enjoying the moments, and in a way, that's very tempting to do. It almost feels like a waste of time that we're not doing that actually. Work hard, play hard is what they say. But a vacation feels and simply is unreal. I do not want to complain about vacation and travels, because I love and enjoy it and do realize it's a privilege. But sometimes, already within days upon returning home, I felt like the vacation never even happened. That it was someone else's life. And I don't want that to happen with our 1-year sabbatical. I guess if traveling is done in an escapist way, it can be enjoyable in the moment, but it will never get you anywhere, because the disconnect with reality is simply too big. Happiness is always just around the corner. Years of therapy have taught me that if we keep digging the same paths in our minds, the ones that we've been carving for years, we only multiply what we already have. The joys, the pains, the thoughts, the beliefs. It kind of makes us better at what we're already good at and worse at what we're already bad at. I, for example, am pretty risk averse. So every time I took a risk and something went wrong, I would tell myself I was stupid for having taken that risk, and I would become even more risk averse. Our brains naturally work like this. They form certain pathways, neural pathways, that if you behave in a certain way or think in a certain way, you're more likely to repeat that in the future. This is why many people find it difficult to make a change, even if they really want to. I mean, look at myself. I'm trying out this van life lifestyle and YouTube thing for a year. Took a sabbatical for it, but I didn't quit my rent, didn't quit my job, because it felt just too soon to let go of those, well, what I perceive as safety or security. But I do feel like I want to make a change in my life, because this van life does make me think about how things could be different. But yeah, I haven't really made a change just yet. Dipping my toes in the cold water from the safety and security of the shore. I'm gonna make some noise, by the way. Sorry about that. The better the spices are crushed, the more the flavors come out. But yeah, don't like the noise either.
We may think of joy as something that happens spontaneously, but I've come to realize that joy needs to be cultivated and practiced in order to grow. I've once read a saying that if you chase butterflies, they will fly away. But if you create a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come. And if they don't, you still have a beautiful garden. If there are things in this van life year I particularly appreciate and enjoy, I'd want to find a way to take that back home with me for my quote-unquote garden. Or to change my lifestyle back home in such a way that it would not be so incredibly unaligned anymore with what I enjoyed and appreciated during the travels. Maybe what I'm saying is, I'd like to create a garden for myself that I do not want or need a vacation from, or at least not an escapist vacation. That would be a doom scenario if this whole sabbatical turned out to be just that.
Today we are going to do something very special.
Apparently here it's very common to pick your own mushrooms.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands it's allowed, but there aren't many people who do it because you need decent knowledge, of course, about which ones are poisonous and which ones are edible.
But we don't have that knowledge.
No, not at all.
So we are going to learn from people that do.
Yeah, the goal is to be able to cook our own meal with the mushrooms at the end of the day.
We will see. My father always makes the same joke about mushrooms. All mushrooms are edible, but some only once.
During our time in the Nordics, I've seen so much nature, wilderness, openness, and sustainable ways of living amidst it. Living with nature rather than against it. I found it strangely satisfying to pick our own berries in the forest, learn some edible mushrooms in Finland and make a soup from them, catching and dining our own fish in Norway.
This we throw away. This I think it's very bitter.
Ah, okay.
Whoa.
Not good.
This is okay, but you have to boil it first. So this you can eat, this you can eat, and this.
I absolutely love to rediscover what a night sky without light pollution even looks like. Or a view that's not filled with concrete and pavements, with here and there space for a single tree, but rather a view dominated by trees. I can hardly imagine anymore how I could think of city life as normal, especially in the Netherlands, where housing prices are crazy. And what for? Away from nature, not knowing anymore where our food comes from and who our own neighbors actually are. Many times I've left the Netherlands, it opened my eyes for how strange some things are back home. For instance, the fact that we jam-pack our agendas for months ahead, both in work and private life, leaving little space for spontaneous joys and changing plans or just life happening. Or that there's actually hardly any nature because every inch of the country is cultivated or populated. And I'm a part of all that. Living in Pebbles now, we have a limited water supply. It's still a good 86 liters, and we can manage for about a week with that, but it made me very aware of how much more water we used to consume back home. Like flushing 5 liters of drinking water down the loo with every toilet visit. I've learned that this is normal, but quote-unquote normal, after all, is nothing more than a construct. Here in Finland, composting toilets are everywhere. How amazing that is. So, traveling does help question the stories we've built about how the world works, who we are, what we want, and where the road is taking us. And I think that's a good and healthy thing to do every once in a while. But these questions risk very quickly fading into the background when getting back from a vacation. Human beings are so incredibly adaptable. They can form without even actively wanting or realizing it. I've done so myself many times. After all, our brains are wired more for survival than for living a meaningful life. This time, my intention is to resist this tendency. I want to some extent unlearn what I've learned to be normal or good, to make space for growth. So, isn't it enough knowing who you are, understanding how you create stories in your mind that you identify with? It's also about living who you are, authentically, working and crafting new pathways as you go. It would mean going off-road in your head, basically. Into the unknown, full of unpredictable consequences, unlearning what you've learned.
So at some point, when I looked at other people's achievements, I realized that my own risk aversion is holding me back in ways I do not desire. It makes me settle for less, basically. Some black tea. Settle for less, but also wondering at the same time, what if I did this different, or what if I did that, but never really doing it. Yeah, I really should turn the ventilation on. Taking risks can unfold in unexpectedly wonderful ways, and some risks are definitely worth taking, despite the pain or harm they might cause. It's just that some risks are also way more conventional to take than others, regardless of how big or small they actually are. So having a huge mortgage on a house is super accepted in the Netherlands. I mean, there's not really another way that you can get a house in the Netherlands at the moment, so yeah. But buying a camper van to live in it full time, it's not so conventional. But I don't want to confuse what's conventional risk with what is a big risk, because they're not the same necessarily. Buying our 4x4 Sprinter Pebbles to live in for a year was a really big step for us. Having her converted into the beautiful camper van she is right now is huge. It was basically like embracing the fact that it could go wrong, that we took a risk, that it might not work out the way we expected, and that others would maybe think some things about that. It was like going off-road in our minds, basically. Exploring a path, a neural path that wasn't there yet. Actually, quite much went wrong before our 1-year sabbatical started. Could do a whole other video about that. But in a nutshell, our van conversion company went bankrupt. Few months before our journey would start, we were left with no van and had to leave our apartment in a few months. So we had to come up with a plan B or cancel everything. That would be the risk-aversive way to deal with it. But fortunately, we didn't cancel everything. To myself, it was quite freeing to notice my own accepting and forgiving response to it. I mean, past me would have been very frustrated with the situation, but mostly with myself, for sure, for having taken the risk and for the fact that it did go wrong. Of course, there's things you can learn from the situation. I'm not trying to ignore that, but apparently I'm also learning to be a beginner in some respects. So it's not only an off-road vehicle that we bought, it also challenges us in our minds to go kind of off-road, off the beaten neural pathway that we've all got in our minds. So I wanted to share a bit about this process of mine with you because, well, it's not only as a reflection for myself, but also as an encouragement for those who might be looking to venture beyond their comfort zone, but are just a little bit afraid to do so. If you're looking to grow, first of all, the good news is it is possible right where you are. I mean, you don't need much for it. You don't need money, possessions, education, people. You can just grow right here, right now. Bad news is maybe that you'd have to let go of some old beliefs, old convictions, old thoughts that are holding you back. Of course, it's good to take risks seriously, but you know, you can overdo it.
So, when fear creeps in, pause and ask yourself, what is it really that I'm afraid of? Being judged, getting lonely, losing life or limb in the process, or the possibility of actually succeeding and the change and upheaval that will bring, and dealing with all of that. And what if you did it anyway? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.